Welcome to the YogaSteady Studio Podcast, an original hot yoga podcast, a place for hot yoga teachers, hot yoga students, skeptics, and anybody who believes that practicing and teaching yoga are lifelong pursuits. I'm Jennifer Rochelle, a yoga teacher and mentor, and the founder of YogaSteady Online. Each week, I will explore the intersections of tradition and evolution, from current events to deep dives into yoga history and philosophy. Of course, we're going to talk about the dialogue because the words we choose to speak, especially as yoga teachers, matter. Whether you're training to teach yoga, or you're deepening your own practice, or you're finding your voice again after years of burnout, this podcast is here to support your path. So let's get started. It's been a while, about a year and a half, since the last time I sat down and decided to launch this podcast, and a lot has changed. Back then, I was preparing to sign a new lease, and forge ahead with our smaller space in Falls Church. Ultimately, our landlord did not agree to our terms, and we quickly had to pivot to find new yoga homes for our students and our teachers, and to say goodbye to our brick and mortar yoga studio, a space that held so many memories from so many classes, from so many lives intersecting through the hot room and through sweat. The loss was real, and I continue to grieve it. But from that space of letting go, something else has begun to take root. And now I'm all in on online mentorship, teacher training, and offering support for all of you who understand that practicing yoga and learning to teach yoga are lifelong pursuits, and learning from a practice that is specifically designed for the beginner in all of us. This podcast will come out weekly. Each episode will include a peek into current events, a mini history or philosophy lesson, and a practical look at the Bikram dialogue. Not just how to say it, but why it matters, why it continues to be relevant. Today's episode is about new beginnings, and we'll be talking about something big happening right now in the world, the conclave and the papacy. But first, I just want to say from my heart, I'm glad to be back. This week, the world watches as 133 cardinals gather in the Sistine Chapel to elect the new pope, following the passing of Pope Francis on April 21st. The conclave, commencing on May 7th, is steeped in centuries-old rituals, including oaths of secrecy under penalty of excommunication. Notably, this conclave is the most geographically diverse in history, with electors from 71 countries, reflecting the global nature of the Catholic Church. The process underscores the weight of tradition and the complexities of leadership succession. As yoga teachers, we can draw parallels to our own practices, honoring the lineage and teachings passed down to us, while also navigating the evolving landscape of modern yoga. Just as the Church contemplates its future direction, we too consider how we uphold the essence of yoga amidst contemporary challenges. This convergence of tradition and progress invites reflection. How do we, as stewards of yoga, balance reverence for the past with the needs of the present? Let's explore this further in our history segment. So let's take a breath and go back, way back. The papacy as an institution begins to take recognizable shape in the centuries after the death of Jesus, around the 2nd to 4th centuries CE or AD, depending on how you refer to it. That's when the early Christian church, particularly in Rome, began to centralize spiritual authority under the Bishop of Rome, eventually elevating him as Pope, the Vicar of Christ. But what was happening in yoga at the same time? While Rome was defining its spiritual hierarchy, India was going through a profound internal revolution. The early centuries of the Common Era saw the final compilation and rise of one of yoga's most significant texts, the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. This classical system of yoga, rooted in dualism, offered a path to liberation through mental discipline, detachment, and self-study. It was an era where yogis turned inward, seeking freedom not through church or ritual, but through stillness and discernment. Around this time, we also see the consolidation of the 6 major schools of Hindu philosophy, or the darshanas, which would continue to shape Indian thought for millennia. So while the Christian world was organizing externally, churches, councils, bishops, the yoga world was refining its internal architecture. Who am I? What is the mind? What is liberation? And yet both traditions, in their own ways, began defining who gets to teach, who gets to lead, and who gets to interpret the teachings. In the Catholic Church, that meant apostolic succession, the idea that the authority of Jesus passes person to person in an unbroken line. In yoga, it meant lineage, sometimes clear, sometimes mysterious, where a teacher imparts not only knowledge, but presence. Fast forward to today, we're still grappling with both models. Who gets to call themselves a yoga teacher? Does it take a certificate, a lived experience, a recognized branded name behind you? These are the same questions the conclave is asking right now under a different roof. And for us, as yoga teachers in a fragmented modern world, it's worth pausing to ask, what have we inherited? And how do we mindfully choose to carry it forward? All right, let's talk dialogue. In the original Hot Yoga, the dialogue or Bikram's dialogue or the script is often considered the true teacher. When a teacher learns the dialogue through repeated practice, studying it, memorizing it, sweating through it, testing and doubting its every line, and still chooses to carry it forward, they are doing something rare and powerful. They are participating in a living tradition. In the Catholic Church, their service is called the Divine Liturgy. The word liturgy comes from the ancient Greek liturgia, meaning public duty or service to the state. I apologize if you speak Greek and I butchered that. I'm working on it. In yoga, we might think of the 90-minute practice as a liturgical service. Each class becomes a sacred script performed in service, not to a state, but to the inner state of the practitioner. Like the Catholic Mass, the original Hot Yoga is a moving meditation. Stand, kneel, sit, repeat becomes inhale, exhale, eyes always open, breathing always normal. Turn around and relax on your back. The teacher's job isn't to innovate the choreography every day. The teacher's job is to become so fluent in the form that presence pours through. That's why memorizing the dialogue matters, not because it's perfect, but because it offers a structure that gives rise to stillness. And in that stillness, something remarkable can happen. The nervous system begins to heal. The body and mind align. The physical connects to the divine, not through spectacle, but through repetition, through effort, and through attention. To teach the dialogue with sincerity, to question it, to study it again and again, that's not blind obedience, that's devotion. And like the papacy, it's not always easy, but it is simple. You show up, you speak the words, and you serve the students who show up and do the work. And over time, you realize the sequence has been quietly serving you all along. So here we are at the end of the first episode back. We've traveled from the conclave in Rome to the ancient roots of yoga philosophy and landed right back in the hot room, where a teacher stands in front of the class, teaching from a memorized dialogue like a modern-day liturgical service. Whether you're a new teacher, a lifelong practitioner, or just yoga curious, thank you for being here. Before I sign off, here are the sources and references from today's episode. Information on the 2025 Papal Conclave was sourced from the Associated Press and the New York Post. The etymology of liturgy comes from the Greek word liturgia, meaning public duty. Historical parallels between the Catholic Church and early yoga philosophy are drawn from comparative studies on Patanjali's Yoga Sutras and church history. You'll find the links in the show notes. If this episode resonated with you, please subscribe and share it with your community. And feel free to reach out. You can find me at www.bikramyogastudy.com or on Instagram and Facebook at YogaSteady Studio, and my book series, Threads of Fire Chronicles, on Amazon. I'd love to hear your thoughts or questions for future episodes. Thanks for listening. I'll be back next week with a new episode. Until then, stay steady, stay curious, and lock your knee.